This is the third session of a series that I've created on how to handle dealing with a boss who is bullying you and harassing you. Now, a boss is someone who's in a position of power, and they could really cause you stress and affect you physically and affect you mentally. So I've just been through a couple of years working with someone who I've been mentoring, somebody who I've known for years, very good worker, who went through a very stressful period while he was being harassed, not only by his boss, but by the company's HR department. So if you could take something away from this series that'll help you, maybe even if it just helps you sleep a little bit better at night, that's going to make me very happy. This one session I think is very important, has to do with the most common type of boss who is a bully. So this is how to handle the gatekeeper. And if you remember from the first session, the gatekeeper is somebody who withholds resources. Now, the resources may be people, it may be money, it may be training, but if you think about it, now you've got a boss who's withholding these resources. They're not giving you the funding to do the work. They're not giving you the people. Maybe they're making a promise to give you people to work, and they're not. And they're also taking away your ability to fraternize or collaborate with other people, whether they're in your department or not. They have that ability to do that. And if they're setting goals for you that are unrealistic, or I've seen this happen quite a bit, they set goals for you, but then they move it. The goalposts keep moving on you. That is pure harassment. That is not being fair. That's not working towards achieving the company goals. So there is a way to address this, and there's no secret here. It's documenting. You need to document everything. So the way to do it is to create SMART goals. And you've probably seen the SMART goals before, and you've probably been trained on them. Most companies do. But I'm going to show you, it's kind of a mixture of what I've done as well as what Tim, person who I've just gone through a mentoring session with, has done as well. So I've modified these goals a little bit to protect the innocent or guilty, as it may be, but I wanted to give you a pretty good example of what to do. So when you're sitting with your boss and they're giving you goals, maybe for a annual or semi-annual performance review, or if you're taking on deliverables that aren't formal goals, you still want to do the same thing. When you're sitting with them, as I said in the previous sessions, have your notepad. However you're taking the notes, I recommend a notepad and a pen, and then transcribe it at the end of the day or after the meeting. But however you're going to do it, definitely document it. And you need to document these kind of things. So this is what I do, and this is pretty close to a session that I've shared with my boss, and I work for a CIO. First goal or first deliverable that he gave me was to upgrade and replace the company routers. Now you can get a little bit more specific, and you probably should in defining the goal, but we knew what that meant. It meant every single router in the company. He wants it done by the beginning of December in 2025. So the company I work for uses a 1 to 5 rating system. So 5 means you're really exceeding expectations. 4 meant you went beyond the goal expectations, and 3 really means that you met expectations. You kind of met the minimum. So what I like to do is use it. So if I said to him, if I upgrade and replace the headquarter routers, the 4 distribution centers, the 100 remote offices that we have, and if I do that by November instead of December, I would get a 5 rating on this, or I would be exceeding your expectations. And he said yes. So to get a 4, which means I've gone above and beyond, I would do the headquarters, I would do the 4 distribution centers that we have, and only 20 of the remote offices. And we agreed on that. And to get a minimum, to get the bare minimum, meaning I'm not going to get knocked, I'm not going to get praise for this, but I'm not going to get a negative, I would have to do the headquarters routers and then 4 distribution centers. So here's what's important as well as documenting that. And your company may be different on how they rate things, but I think it's good to document what your boss's expectations would be. I also document the budget. So I got $250,000. I document the teams or the people resources. Now this may be identifying individual people to work with or teams in general. And you may need to get those teams to partner with you. And I'll talk about that in a second. So in this case is the network team, which is my team. It's one of the teams that are within my organization. So just expect it, I'm going to be able to staff it. And then I need to partner with those local teams at those other facilities. So I'm going to be expected to partner with them to get resources. And in this case, we do need training. We didn't know that new technology that comes with the new equipment. So my team's actually gone through this online training. There was a cost associated with it. It wasn't a lot, but it's important to document that. Because if you don't get it and you need it, that's a point that you need to raise. And then CIO support. Now I work for the CIO, so he's the sponsor of this. I'm expected to get this work done. In this case, he agreed, yes, I'll give you support on this. And this really is mostly about getting the resources from other teams to get the job done. So I'm expected to go and partner with those other teams. But if I run into a brick wall, if I'm not getting the support, he's gonna jump in and he's gonna take some accountability to help out. I've got a couple others because I just want to talk about different scenarios. So I also have to create this year. I have to create a budget, or I had to create a budget. It looks like the years are a little backwards here. But the deadline was in October, and I'd get a 5 if I completed it in the beginning of August. And that's pretty important because if I'm done with my budget, I can help a lot of other organizations plan because they may be dependent upon my budget and vice versa. So getting it done early is definitely a good thing. I'd get a 4 if I got it done by September, and if I had it done on time, then I'd be meeting minimum expectations. I don't have a budget because it's to get the work done because it's just creating a budget. I'm expected to just do it. I don't need any resources. I should be doing it on my own. There's no training that's needed because it's a core competency, and he's not expected to help me on this. I should just be delivering it, and that makes sense. Another one is a communication presentation. This is a cross-functional presentation that we give to the company. I had a deadline to have it done last August. If I got it fully delivered by then, I would be exceeding expectations. There was no option that he was going to accept other than to exceed expectations. That's actually a good thing for me, and I work at this point in my life, I work for a reasonable person who is not bullying me. And there's no budget associated with it. I will need to partner with other departments because it is a cross-functional presentation. There's no training required. It's a core competency of mine. Even though if you look at the presentation skills here, you may not be impressed. Getting this done and delivering the information to the company is a core competency. And I do not need his support to get this done. So documenting that is very important. And then here's another one. It's converting an application, a GW portal, to AWS. AWS is Amazon Web Services. I needed to get it done by November of last year. If I was production ready, now production ready means something within IT, within my company. By October, I would have exceeded expectations. If I was production ready on the deadline, I would still be exceeding expectations, only less so. I'd be getting a 4. If the coding was complete, and that just means, and that's a different status within my company, that means the coding is done, it's still going through some review. By October, then I met the minimum expectations. I had $500,000 in budget, and the resources, these are specific teams. There's a development team, UAT is a business team, and a security team. I would have them. This is a pretty big project to get this application moved to Amazon. And there was training needed to use Amazon's methodology. And we specified the network team, that's NW, and the development teams would go through that training. And would I have CIO support? Would I have support of my boss if I needed him as a sponsor? And yes, he would support me. This is very important. If you're getting harassed by your boss, if you're getting pushed into delivering something that maybe your boss thinks you're going to fail at, getting him to state whether he's going to support you or not is very important, and documenting it where he's seeing it. So what I do is I take this, as you see, I just do it in Excel, and then I send it out as part of my meeting notes to him, and I ask him to review it and comment if there are any changes. So I let him tacitly approve it, meaning if he doesn't reply back, he agrees to what's in this spreadsheet. So he's agreeing to a budget, he's agreeing to training in some cases, and I'm agreeing to, hey, I'm going to go alone on some things and I don't need it. It does a couple of things. It holds his feet to the fire, my boss, and this would hold your boss's feet to the fire, that they have some skin in the game, that they're committing to delivering something themselves, whether it's support or money. Or if they're saying they're not going to give you training, people, resources, dollars, then they're documenting that. And how are you going to deliver it if you don't have those resources? So you're probably pretty familiar with SMART goals. Now, I would use this for deliverables as well. And what SMART goals are, as a refresher or in case if you didn't know, is S is specific. You should be very specific on what you're going to deliver. I was a little high level on that Excel spreadsheet, but you want to be specific so that you can both read it and know exactly what you're going to deliver. Measurable. How am I going to measure that? How are you going to verify, validate, I delivered what we agreed to? Achievable. It needs to be realistic. You need to be able to deliver on it. So that's where if you need resources, if you need training, if you need dollars, you do need to speak up and you need to document it. Now, a word of caution I'm going to give you is if you don't bring it up verbally, you shouldn't be writing it down in your notes. Unless if you call it out in the notes saying, hey, we didn't discuss this. I meant to bring this up. So, hey, we didn't discuss training, but the team is going to need training. We can't possibly do this without training. I want to make sure I have your okay on that. So you would need to do that. It's better to bring it up. And if you're getting harassed by your boss, that could be difficult, but you just have to persevere and do that. So that way you can document it. That way you can document it if he denied the training. And you put down in your note that I believe we need training for this, or I believe we need a budget for this, and it will not be provided. You are not going to provide that. It needs to be relevant. It has to be something that the company needs. It has to be something relevant to your job description. It has to be something relevant to what you're delivering for the company. It can't be busy work. Now, your job description, that's the loose one because that could change. Most job descriptions have something like and other duties as required. So that's a catch-all. But it needs to be aligned with your company goals. And it needs to be time-bound. That's the deadline. And that deadline should not move. And that's why you document it. If they move it, if your boss is harassing you, and one of the way they're doing it is by changing the dates, maybe moving it up, then what you do is you send them back your notes and you said, I thought we agreed to this date, and either, okay, we're going to move it to this date, or I can't deliver it on that date. It's not realistic. So that's something to think about. And it's super important that you're both clear on this. Now, someone who is harassing you, someone who is a bully, is not going to like seeing this kind of stuff written down. They may, if it's not an annual goal, and I recommend you do it for any deliverable, it doesn't have to be an annual goal, but if it's not an annual goal, you may hear back, this is too much busy work. What you say back to them is, I really want to make sure we're clear in the delivery because I want to do it right. So this was a quick session today, but I really wanted to get across how to handle that gatekeeper. For a boss who is a bully, someone who's harassing you, and they may be harassing you for a couple of reasons. One is, as you know, as we discussed before, if you're targeted, you're probably a performer. You're not on a performance plan where they're looking to see if you can actually do the job or not. You're a performer who they're trying to control, and they're being very maniacal about the way they're doing it. They're maybe gaslighting you. So they are going to try to control all the resources to trip you up. So you want to document it. You want to document it as part of the documentation that you're doing for every single meeting that you're attending. And that's a good practice. They're both good professional practices, whether you're getting bullied or not. And you want to do it for deliverables as well as goals for your review. That way there's clarity throughout. And as I said, your work should be meaningful. It's very important for the company. They're paying you. So your work should be aligned with their goals, with their mission. And I think the most important thing is you really deserve to feel like the work that you're doing is meaningful. You deserve that confidence, and you deserve a sense of pride in the work that you're doing, and nobody should take that away from you. So I hope this is helpful. I'm going to post the link to the sessions that we've gone through in the notes, and there will be more sessions coming up. Thank you.